Hello, 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 everyone. Happy Wednesday. I'm Claire Jones. If we haven't already met, I'm an author, I'm a mentor, I'm a speaker, and we're jumping on for my Visionaries in Transition Facebook Live series, where I interview the amazing and inspiring impact makers in my network to discuss the transitions that have shaped our lives and businesses, because there are a ton. Our lives are full of them. So if you're joining us, please like, comment, share, let us know that you're here. And today I'm talking to Tierra. And I think we met originally through the F-bomb. Is that correct?
Correct. Maybe like 2 years ago, F-bomb,
Yeah.
when it went virtual. Yeah.
Yeah. It's been a while. And like everyone that I know from that community is amazing. And I'm just so glad to have Tierra here with me today. We always have great conversations.
Yes. Thank you so much, Claire. I'm so happy to be here. It's been on the calendar for a while and I've just been looking for it every single month. So it's happening.
Yeah. It's funny how much delay there is between scheduling these and actually filming these.
Right.
My calendar is a little crazy, but we got here. So let's jump into it. Tell me your backstory. How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. So my backstory, I'm the CEO of Take Charge Consulting. I started my company about 5 years ago, and it was created because of personal experience with bad credit, and not knowing what to do about it, how I could fix it, who I could hire to help me. I found a lot of credit repair companies, but they didn't seem reputable. It seemed kind of scammy, almost all of the ones that I found. And so I figured, why not learn how to do it myself? I was working at Department of Corrections at the time. I knew that I didn't want to be there forever, just based on the people that I was working with who were 20 and 30 years older than me. So I knew I didn't want to stay there. And I knew I wanted to start a business. So learned how to fix credit for my personal, for myself, but then realized it would be a good business idea because I knew that there was a lot of people in my network, friends, and even family that were going through the same thing. So I wanted to be like that resource when it came to credit for my network.
Yeah, I have to say, I think you're the only person that I've met in a business context that has a credit repair company. Because when you look at that kind of service work, you see the scammy big names that you're used to seeing, all the spammers out there. And, you either can go to a financial advisor or you can go to a credit repair specialist, but there's not a lot of reputable people out there.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah.
But it's something that affects every aspect of our lives, like every aspect. That number follows you everywhere.
Exactly. Buying a home, car, career, a lot of times. Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah, I've even heard that it's become a dating practice to like ask for people's credit scores when you're on dates, because it's kind of a flag filter. Is like, you don't want to go too far in the relationship if they have a credit score of 100.
That makes sense. But credit is so taboo. I feel like I get that question a lot. I'm single and dating, and I tell people that I do credit consulting, and they're always like, so what's your credit score? But I didn't know that, everyone was doing that because credit is so taboo. It's one of those things that we don't even want to say the word credit.
Yeah. Well, so many people have been burned by joining their finances with someone else and then realizing, 5 years into the relationship that they have hundreds of thousands worth of debt and a really shitty credit score.
Yeah, you might as well ask in the beginning and get it out of the way.
Right, exactly. Like, you need to know what you're getting into.
Yeah.
So let's get into transitions. What have been the big pivotal ones that have shifted you from one direction to another?
Yeah, I don't know if this is necessarily a transition, but I guess a transition in my focus. So a huge goal of mine, a mission, is to help 100,000 people with credit and entrepreneurship, which is something else that I help people with. And focusing on individuals would make it a little bit challenging to get there. So not that I don't help individuals anymore. I have a lot of professionals and artists and entrepreneurs that I help, but kind of transitioning my focus to more collaboration. So working with nonprofits and other organizations, and being in a position to serve their audience. So being able to serve more people at once, whether it's through workshops, educational type of events, or actual consulting. So I would say that's a big transition that I'm going towards. Again, still working with individuals, but my focus is on creating more collaborations so that I'm able to help more people.
Yeah, I mean, scaling your impact is a huge conversation in the business world and in the entrepreneur world. Is like, how do you go from a solopreneur, that's the term that a lot of people are using nowadays, to having a lot more scaled impact? Is like whether you have a team underneath you or whether you do workshops and more group one-to-many offerings and stuff like that. I mean, people talk about this all the time.
Right. So true. That the impact is just greater that way. And that's my goal, to sustain my business, one, but then also to be able to have more impact on the community.
Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what I love about, especially women in business, is that it seems like we're more community oriented in general. And like, I could get into neuroscientific research behind this, but we are socialized to be more community oriented in general. And so most of the women entrepreneurs that I run into, women in business that I run into, they are concerned about the wide impact that they can make more socially, more globally, even sometimes. And that's really inspiring.
It is. I love us.
Yeah, right.
I love men too.
Yeah. Were there any transitions before this period beyond the switching from Department of Corrections to your own business? Like, are there any juicy transitions in that time frame that really impacted the way that you approach your business?
Interesting. I think just the biggest thing, which I think a lot of entrepreneurs have thought about, but just, how can the work that I did at Department of Corrections was great. There was impact on the community, but again, how can I provide more impact on the community? And then also kind of start to think about leaving something for my future family, because my government job wasn't going to do that. It didn't allow me to pay all my bills. So it definitely wasn't going to allow me to leave something for my future children. So that was another just kind of thought shift in my head from, that switching from career mindset to owning something and having a business that maybe that can be passed down to my future family, or being able to generate more income so that can be passed down. I think that was a really, really big transition, which thankfully I feel like I had early on. But yeah, that's definitely helped me to get to where I am. And on those hard days that people tend to not talk about in business, when you're, stressing about how you're going to pay X, Y, and Z, just those thoughts are what keep me here. And rather than, going to get, a 6-figure corporate job.
Yeah. I mean, that's a very common theme that I see in these conversations that I have with people, is the impact of being family focused versus career focused.
Yes.
Like, most of the women that I've interviewed, when it comes to why they started their businesses in the first place, like a good portion of them talk about motherhood as a reason why. Like, they had maternity leave, they had time to think and plan and wonder about what kind of life they wanted to create for themselves during that time frame, and then a business is also birthed out of that time as well as a child. And that's a huge theme that I see.
That's huge, and that's another reason that I'm so focused on business right now. And once I'm able to scale it and have it, run without me per se, that is the ideal for motherhood. So that I'm not having to go clock into a 9 to 5 and be stressed and then come home and be a mom. And so just kind of setting up the business and economic side of my life so that I can have the motherhood side the best way that I want it to be.
I mean, corporate life in general, the whole 9 to 5 hustle is so contradictory to parenthood. Because
Yes.
you need to be able to pick up your kid from school when they get sick, or like even dogs, like what if my dog has to go to a vet appointment? Like I ran into that, I think it was earlier this year. My dog ripped herself open in the yard accidentally.
Oh,
So that has to reschedule my whole day,
yeah. And
So,
you're able to do that.
and I'm able to do that because I do control my own schedule, but corporate doesn't allow that. Typically 9 to 5s don't allow that. Typically, even like retail work and more blue collar jobs don't really provide for that a lot lately, unless you're part of a union. But yeah, it's a big topic.
Yeah, even still, if it's provided, there's like this guilt factor too. I remember being at Department of Corrections and calling in was like so scary. Like it was like I felt it all through my body, and there was just a lot of guilt and shame that came with that.
Yeah. And it's putting your values and needs first too. At the end of the day is like, do you value the community impact? Do you value having freedom of time? Do you have value providing for the next generation, and organizing your life according to those values rather than the other way around?
Right. I love that.
What are big lessons that you took away during these times?
Lessons. I guess one lesson for me is I'm so obsessed with entrepreneurship. I think everyone should be entrepreneurs. Obviously that can't happen. And I guess my strong passion in entrepreneurship maybe led me to think that, if I can just create a program and help people become entrepreneurs, then everything will be fine. That will be the solution. But learning that that's not what everyone wants. And so kind of just learning that and accepting it, which has also changed, different services that I offer within my business. But first it led me down a road to wasting time and money on creating something that wasn't necessarily needed or wanted by the community. It was just something that I thought people wanted.
Yeah, I love that you brought this up. I was actually just having a conversation yesterday about this. It's like you need to put customer needs and desires first.
Oh yeah.
Whether you like the product or service you create is kind of irrelevant.
So irrelevant
today. Because you might create the most scientifically proven option, you might create the cheapest option, the fastest option, the prettiest option, whatever it is. But if there's no one out there who wants to buy it, you're dead in the water.
Yes. So true. So that was a big lesson learned. Again, I feel like I learned it pretty early on. Been in business 5 years. This was something that I learned maybe a year or two ago, but yeah, if I could share that with other people, market research and all of you, some things you just can't skip. And you don't need to repeat the cycle. And just another point to collaboration. So the thing that I was trying to create, there's other people that are doing that. So why not collaborate together?
Yeah, I almost think it's kind of like an ego trip at the end of the day too, because like you fall in love with this baby, this product, the service that you created, and you're like, this is my baby. And like your self-worth, your self-esteem, your confidence is wrapped up in this thing, whatever this thing is, and then people don't like it.
Right.
And you're like, you plummet because you think that it's your self-worth that they're commenting on because you've attached so much to this. Right? And I think that's true when it comes to collaborations as well, is like, well, I need to reinvent the wheel all by myself because I'm a lone wolf, like I call it Wonder Woman syndrome, where you try to do everything on your own.
Yes.
And I think you just need to like take a step back from your ego and be like, look, collaboration is going to be way more valuable versus competition in the long term. And you can
Right.
surround yourself with people that actually know more than you in a certain area and succeed together rather than it being like a me versus you kind of situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Huge transition and thought process there too.
How have you struggled with this ego over the years?
It kind of exactly what you said when you said Wonder Woman syndrome.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I can see that in a lot of areas in my life, personal and in business.
Totally.
So yeah, personal, I'm the oldest of two sisters. I have two younger sisters. And kind of like the one that puts all the things together for the family. Like everything is done because of me. So I definitely see how my role in family life transitioned into business. And so that's exactly what I was trying to do in business, just be everything for everyone. I just do credit repair, but a lot of my clients ask about financial advising and if I do taxes. And so I literally have put these different things like on my project list of things to do because I wanted to be that resource for everything. But it wasn't until realizing that it's not sustainable. It would just make, the credit piece of my business weaken if I'm adding financial advising, taxes, and all of this stuff. So it's definitely shows up in business. But I can notice it now and be like, nope, it's not in the plan. We're going to stick with what we know. So
yeah. I mean,
still a battle.
It's so alluring too in the beginning. It's like, well, I can do everything by myself for cheap too, because I don't have to pay anyone else, I can figure out accounting. I can figure out how to do product photography. I can figure out how to build a website. I can figure out this. I can figure out how to do Google Analytics. You can spend all of this time and energy learning these things if you want to, but at the end of the day, you get stuck in that perpetual student mode as well. Where you're not actually accomplishing anything because you're just focusing on knowing everything.
Right. It makes no sense. And if I counted the amount of money that I wasted, mainly marketing. So like, let me just take this course or hire this person and take this class so that I can learn it and do it on my own. And still I'm in a position where I'm not doing it on my own. But all that money spent on all of that stuff could have hired someone and had it done the right way. So
yeah. One of my favorite phrases that I've heard over the years is, if you think hiring a professional is expensive, try hiring an amateur.
Oh my goodness, yes. Yeah.
Because it's going to be sweat, blood, energy, time, and money. That's the cost. Tears. We'll throw in a gallon of tears with that as well.
So true.
So what did you do to support yourself during these times? Like tools, practices, what did you do to support yourself?
One thing I did was that stands out the most to me was hiring a life coach. And she is obviously an entrepreneur herself, but her strategy combined like personal and business, which is exactly what I was looking for. Because they're one. That allowed me to really understand the importance of self-care and listening to myself and being kind to myself, and resting, like all of those things. I knew, that they're beneficial, but it have been ignored for a while.
Many of us.
And so working with her allowed me to like develop some tools and things that I can use to just love on myself better, which in turn will allow me to reach business goals and commit to the things that I had set forward in business. So that's one of the things that helped me. And then also just creating a balance. Like starting a business is very, very hard by yourself. And I just like that was my main focus, like very, very in a very masculine way. It was just like hustle, 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 like let's do this. And I do think that in the beginning that was necessary, but it kind of transitioned for a few years. And so I think when I implemented balance in my life and focused on other areas and not just business, I think that kind of helped me to one, still be in business today, but also to have a successful business just by having that balance and not only focusing on business.
Yeah, I mean, it's a marathon, not a sprint,
Right.
And you need your little snacks along the way. You need your little refuels along the way. And like one of my favorite philosophies that I've learned over the years is like personal development is business development at the end of the day.
Yes.
Because owning your own business, being an entrepreneur is the fastest path to putting your flaws on a pedestal.
Oh my goodness.
Because you're just like, I am a shit human being. Everything is awful because I don't know how to do proper product photography, like whatever it is. But that also gives you a rapid path to fixing it, to addressing it, to doing something about it instead of ignoring it and continuing down the train track that's going to end in a crash.
Right. Totally agree.
What are just one of the practices that you've implemented over the days? Just describe one for us.
Yeah. The biggest one was creating a morning ritual. So like focusing on myself rather than just going straight to work. Because like I said, it was prior to hiring that life coach, Brooke, I would literally wake up, maybe go to the gym, get ready and straight to work and work. And then it's, time for dinner, and then go to bed and do it all over again. So there was no self-time in any of that. And then weekends were for family and friends. And so having that morning ritual definitely puts me in a place now to set up my day by being with myself first, because that's more important. So some of the things that I do in the morning are journal, workout. Again, that's not consistent as it should be, but movement, any type of movement, I think is helpful for part of your morning routine. And then I also pray and spend time with the Lord, and then kind of plan out my day from there and just have it. I think the biggest thing is just being slow. So I have those 2 hours to just kind of be in flow and just and within myself rather than straight to work.
Yeah, I love that because, one of the main motivations for people to start their own businesses is freedom of time. Like that's a big motivation. And yet they give themselves a 60-hour work week.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Right.
Whereas you can set your schedule in a way that gives you that space and time and freedom over whatever that time looks like, whether it's blocked, whether it's in the morning, whether it's in the evening, whether it's in the middle of the day. Like I like to meditate right after lunch because I'm not sleepy. So I don't fall asleep while I'm doing it. I'm not hungry because I have a full stomach.
Okay.
And it resets me in the middle of the day. And so that works for me, but people sometimes prefer mornings, some people prefer evenings, and you kind of have to experiment with that to find the right formula for you.
Right. And then also experience with the duration of it. So when Brooke was kind of giving this assignment, I'm like, I do not have time for that. Like I just do not. There's no freaking
Yeah.
way. Like I have to get to work. I have meetings at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
So experimenting and maybe starting with 30 minutes or an hour. I personally started with like 15 minutes because I was very stubborn. And now fast forward 2 years, a year and a half later, it's 2 hours every morning. So, but start small and experiment and find out what works best for you.
Yeah, totally. Like when I was introducing my own meditation routine, I think I started 1 day a week, like, and then I've gradually increased to 2 days, 3 days.
Yeah.
Now I do it every weekday. And like,
I love it.
you have to give yourself those little steps because you feel accomplished once you get to the next level.
Right. I'm going to take your meditation. I'm going to try to do it after lunch because I've been trying to incorporate that in the mornings, but it hasn't worked. So I like your idea after lunch. I'm going to try that.
Yeah. I found if I do it in the mornings or the evenings, I'm too tired. And so I end up dozing off instead of actually meditating. So I'm like, all right, after lunch, I'm not hungry. I'm not tired. It resets me for the day. And then I do like a potty break with my dog afterwards. So I get outdoor time as well. I get to go say hi to my favorite trees.
Love it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything you want to add before we wrap up?
No, this has been great, Claire. I love this series. I'm going to go binge watch some of the previous ones, but just thank you for inviting me here to your platform. I love all of the work that you're doing. And I'm just grateful to be in your network.
Yeah. I mean, we had all of these wonderful conversations in private one-to-one meetings. So I'm like, this is valuable stuff that we're talking about here.
Right. Let's bring it out. Let's share it.
Right, let's air those skeletons.
For sure.
All right. So this is powerful stuff that we're talking about today. And audience, we definitely encourage you to share your own thoughts and feelings and insights and stories with us as well, because we'd love to know how these types of transitions have impacted you in your own lives. So special thanks to Tierra for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure per usual.
Of course. Thank you, Claire.
Yeah, and please comment, like, subscribe, check out Linktree/Claire Joins for all of my links. And then where can folks find out about you?
Yes, LinkedIn as well, Tierra Bonds, or Facebook, Take Charge Credit Consulting.
Yeah, and I'll put those links in the comments for easy access. And until next time, please remember that your authentic self is extraordinary, it is wonderful, and you owe it to yourself to create the elevated life that you know you are capable of. Take care, everyone.